All right, welcome back to the Mail Right Show. Today we are on episode 291, and we are thrilled, overjoyed, excited to have Krista Mashore back on the show. She came on the show, John is saying a year. I think it was like a year and a half, maybe 2 years ago. Regardless of when it was, Krista was busily starting a second company. She was already a real estate agent. She was getting into real estate coaching, and now she's had incredible success, and we're going to talk to her all about that. Krista, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to our guests and let them know how awesome you are.
Hi, Robert and Jonathan. Thanks for having me. I appreciate being back here. Man, if it was in the beginning, it's been 3 years, but I don't think it's been that long. But like I started my coaching company 3 years ago. So, but yeah, so I'm a real estate broker with eXp Realty and Homes by Krista, and I've been in the industry for 20 years. Top 1% realtor just about every year that I've been in the industry. And about 3 years ago, I opened up a coaching company. Now I coach real estate agents and lenders from across the country on how to utilize digital marketing and social media to really expose themselves to the masses.
Beautiful. And you've got your elevator pitch down pat. All right. My amazing co-host, Jonathan, is a WordPress developer extraordinaire who has a number of companies as well. He's got a learning management system company, and he's got a real estate marketing company, which is why he founded the podcast that you're listening to. He's an amazing guy. John, why don't you go ahead and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Oh, like I say, Robert said, I'm the founder of Mail Right. Mail Right is a platform that gets you quality leads. Using the power of Facebook and video, we got a number of elements to the Mail Right platform. Go over, sign up. You get the first 3 months for free. You're not risking anything, and it's a powerful platform. Over to you, Robert.
And my name is Robert Newman. I am I am the dying breed. I am the singular guy in the United States that is the real estate SEO expert, the only guy that will talk to you about long-term instead of short-term stuff. So for some reason, you're the one person out of 100 that fascinates. Go to inboundrem.com and you can learn more about me. In the meantime, John, did you already have a question that you had teed up, or?
Yeah, we're going to start the conversation with a video that Christine done recently, and it was about using Instagram, and specifically Instagram stories. I thought it was an interesting topic that we haven't had a lot of people who know anything about on the show, and we could start it off and then move on to some other subjects.
Okay.
Yes. So you just want me to talk?
Oh yeah, it's over to you, Krista. I am actually sorry. I don't know what the video is that he's referencing, so I'm assuming
I don't either.
Okay.
Okay. Well, we don't have to start with it with Instagram. Well, are you happy to discuss?
Yeah. So I create a lot of content, so I'm not sure, but yes. So Instagram Stories is great. It's kind of like your own personal little mini reality TV show, and it's a great way for your audience to get to know you. The thing about Instagram Stories is that you can literally produce as much content as you want without oversaturating people or, bothering them, because it's a story and they want to see what's going on in your life. It's different than in your news feeds, because the stories are really, really quick. They can just kind of like keep tapping and kind of see what you're doing and kind of go through your day very, very quickly. And it's just a great way to really, really, really engage your audience, get them to know you on a little bit more of a personal level. And you can also use some brand building and bring in products and services that you're selling as well. So, we use Instagram as well as Facebook and LinkedIn and pretty much all of the platforms.
So what do you think are some of the main differences between Instagram and Facebook when it comes to video? Are there any particular things you got to know about before you dive into it?
Yeah, so Instagram is a little bit more of a younger crowd. So you're a little bit more of the millennials are on Instagram. And it's actually becoming more and more popular, even with 30, 35 to 50 years old. But definitely more the millennials are on it than they are on Facebook. In fact, a lot of millennials aren't even on Facebook, whereas people my age, I'm going to be 50 here pretty soon. We're mostly on Facebook, and now we've migrated over to Instagram. I think it's really important just to be on as many platforms as you can, as long as you could actually do them. Meaning, I have a team, so it's easier for me to be able to kind of be on multiple platforms. If you don't have a team, I would say really try to pick at least one or two and really be dedicated to just posting on there as much as you can, really utilizing how well the software works. Facebook really is my specialty, and that's where I focus most of my attention and time, and I have for years and years. And so, yeah, if you're only one person, just try your best to pick one platform where your target ideal audience is hanging out, and then learn how to master that and let it work the best that it can for you.
Well, let's focus on Facebook. So where do you think Facebook is in 2021 as a platform that real estate agents can use to help them get leads? What's the big picture? How do you see things at the present moment with Facebook?
I love Facebook advertising. And I know everybody's worried about the whole iOS update, but really the strategy that I use, we're not worried about it at all. And basically, last year alone, I sold 90 homes last year, which is for me a really not a good year at all. I usually set to like 150, but I'm coaching 99% of the time. I just work on my real estate business about 5 hours a month. And that 5 hours consists of me just making sure my team is doing everything that they're supposed to, and then creating video scripts and then recording video content, and then taking that video content and then my team properly distributes it. I don't show up for listing appointments anymore. And as I said, we did 90 transactions, 88 of them were sellers. And from just one strategy that we use on Facebook, just one strategy, we generated 48 closed seller transactions in 2020, generating in $740,600 in real estate commissions. And that was with less than a $12,000 like ad spend. So like $1,000 a month for that one strategy. So and that's kind of true and it's kind of not. And what I mean by that is that it's bigger than just like creating this one ad that will generate these, people to raise their hand and say, I want a CMA. So for the CMA ad specifically was around $12,000, but it's the whole strategy that I do beforehand, which makes the conversion so strong. For example, just in the past 7 days, right now, inventory is absolutely like completely across the country. There's no inventory whatsoever. And we generated 2 listings in the past 7 days, one for 1.1 million and one for 665,000 from this strategy of people requesting a market analysis. But how it starts is that we create content based upon a problem that we're seeing in the market. So I've been focusing on seller problems. The problems that sellers are having right now is that they want to sell, but they're afraid if they sell, they're not going to be able to find a replacement property. So the content that I created for the past 60 days has all been around giving sellers solutions to selling and how they can still find a replacement property or things they can do to protect them and keep them safe. So we create content. We don't ask somebody to do anything as far as take action until we know for sure that they're interested in that specific content. So for example, if I'm creating videos around selling during, when inventory is low, and I can see that somebody played, watched the entire thing, then I send them another video and they watch that. I know those people are probably interested in selling. So then like the third action is either download, request as market analysis, and then it's go to a savvy seller seminar virtual, right, where there's like all these videos answering them questions. Then I target them past client testimonials. Then I target them, my marketing examples. Then I continue to target them more examples about selling and nurturing them. So when you do it that way, and you don't initially ask for them to raise their hand and give you their information, the conversions are a lot easier. So what we find is that the more content that we create and the more that we're funneling people down and retargeting and they're engaging, that when they do convert, they stick, right? They stick. And so the process is, hey, I'd like my goal is to get them to raise their hand and request a market analysis. And from that market analysis, more than 50% will do what we call a 2-step, where they're actually giving us more information. They're giving us, when they're thinking about moving, upgrades in the home, do they have a pool, name, phone number, email address, like address, the whole 9 yards. Those are very, very serious buyers. So once they do what we call a 2-step, then we follow that up with like a series of 11 different steps that we do to guarantee that we actually get that listing, right? It's not just email them a CMA, it's drop off a market analysis, drop off my copy of my book, What to Expect When You're Selling, go back home, do a video on Zoom, we're going over the market analysis so you can explain what the market analysis is and develop more of a relationship that way. Send a digital copy of the book, send a digital copy of the marketing plan, send a copy of the seller's guide. So that's like the after effect, what somebody gets when they raise their hand to say they want one. So when you combine the fact that we are absolutely getting people to know us, like us, and trust us, position ourselves as the authority, break down their barriers, like really develop a relationship with them, a one-sided one, right? Because they know us and we don't really know them. But that if you follow it up with these other specific strategies in a very sequential, timely fashion, with certain steps, that it's just like very, very easy to convert.
Oh, I'm blown away. Over to you, Robert.
So I heard, so for everybody that is listening to the show, I was telling Krista a story about how we ended up sharing a prospect. And actually, funnily enough, she converted the prospect and I did not. But Ron is, or Ron Wood, who I already asked if I could use his name and he said fine, but had mentioned to me that that he had thought that you had done some type, that he was talking to me about funnels. And it seems like when I listened to you that you had, that you have a lot of experience with funnels. Is that a correct assumption?
So I've built $5 million funnels. We just got our 10X award, our 2 CCX award, which is like we've done $10 million in from one like funnel strategy. So all of our funnels go down to another funnel. So we just got our 2 CCX award. And Russell Brunson, who's the owner of ClickFunnels, just asked me to speak as one of the, to his like 2 Comma Club members. He asked me to speak as a 2 CCX member, like teaching, you know, how we've generated, because we've done almost $13 million in February. So in 30, so in just under 3.5 years. So in like 39 months. So 3 years and 3 months, we've done about $13 million in sales online, just in coaching, not in real estate. There's more with real estate.
Brilliant. So actually, I should actually go back and change something slightly. It's not so much that that I actually don't remember if I had talked to Ron about mentioning his name, but I will say this is that
don't worry.
he said brilliant things about you, which is actually what I wanted to mention.
Aww.
Is that he spoke incredibly highly of you and your services. And it's pretty rare that when I personally talk to somebody offline and I talk to them about a coach, most of the time you're not getting like really deeply positive feedback. There's a little bit of resistance. Real estate agents are tough to service. They oftentimes don't necessarily see the value that you're presenting. Somehow or another, you've managed to communicate value inside the process, which this particular person really saw and then communicated to me. And I just wanted to kind of drop you a note online, live in front of all these people that, hey, I'm getting incredibly good feedback, strong feedback about what you're doing. And if I'm honest, I'm really familiar with Brunson's work. I've studied it, as almost any professional digital marketer has. I don't pursue funnels quite the way that he lines them up, but anybody from Neil Patel to me, you got to study funnels inside the digital marketing space. So I'm glad that you acknowledge that you've worked with him. What would you say now? Have you worked with him, or is he working with you? Like, did you study with him? Did you look at his stuff, or is he literally just saying, I've seen your work, Krista, and I think you're brilliant. Come talk.
Well, I do have him on video saying that I'm the #1 real estate trainer in the world, but I actually I'm in Russell's inner circle. So I have paid Russell to be in his inner circle and get access to his trainings. And so I've paid him well over $60,000 and which is the best, great money, well spent, to learn this process. And funnels are amazing, but if you don't have good ads, the funnels don't work. If you don't have good funnels, the ads don't work, right? So it's like it's not just a funnel or an ad, and it's not just a video. It's really about the strategy behind it. There's so many different moving parts, I think, and over the past 3 years, I mean, I have a psychology major, and my bachelor's degree is in psychology, and I just think that there's a science behind the psychology of a buyer and a seller, right? And I've sold over 2,200 homes, so I really understand the psychology of a buyer and seller. And if you take old school techniques and the the problems and the worries and the fears that buyers and sellers go through. And then you attach a digital component to it, right? Funnels, lead magnets, landing pages, and you start marketing like the 21st century, like you should be, and not doing the old school techniques like open houses and cold calling and door knocking, but you really start thinking about, how do I reach these people in the masses? How do I serve them, and really expose myself and my properties online, like to the masses, and really, really stand out as somebody that's different. That's why, and thank you so much for saying that. I love my coaching program, and I put so much energy into it. So I really appreciate that when people recognize it. So thank you for saying that. But I think when you can give somebody that different approach to real estate, and my students, we don't talk about things like open houses or door knocking. It doesn't even come up, right? It's all about really, really transforming their business, their mindset. Mindset has such a huge part to do with success for an agent. We have to really, really get rid of their limiting beliefs that they can or can't do certain things, and really teach them what I call the millionaire producing mindset. Because my goal is to have all my students be millionaires, right? We have created several of them over the past few years, because it's just, they deserve it. And, these poor agents have just been taught like that they just need to sacrifice their soul and work every weekend and work every night and all these things. And it's like, because they're a commodity, right? They're just a commodity. And the last, 5 or 6 years that I was working, I would not work weekends. I'd stop. My last point would be at 4:00, and people would wait for me. The year I left to go to coaching, I sold 154 homes with just myself and a transaction coordinator and assistant. It wasn't this huge team, and people would respect my time because my product and service that I gave was just so unique and so different. And I think that many agents are lacking that, right? And now more than ever, with everything going on in the industry, with Zillow basically becoming a brokerage and trying to put us all out of business, we really, really need to be different and unique as much as possible.
I think that's a good time, Robert, for us to go for our break.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna be right back. When we come back, I'm gonna toss over a question to John. I have a lot of things to mention. I want to point out some inbound marketing stuff that I've seen you do. I actually did a lot of research for this particular show, which would impress John. So with no further ado, we'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Mail Right Show. It's episode 281. We are with a rock star real estate coach who is also currently and previously been a rock star top 1% agent. Her name is Krista Mashore. And if you haven't already looked her up and you're interested in learning some great stuff on YouTube, I strongly recommend that you do so. So without any further ado, John, I want to give you a chance to get a breath in edgewise here, because like I said, I actually did research, so I have tons of questions. Go ahead and take it away, sir.
So pleased to hear that, Robert. So you made some strong remarks about Zillow at the end of the first half of our interview, Krista. So how does an agent, is a big question. You're not very, I don't think you're going to be on Zillow's Christmas card list. So how does an agent in 2021 make them different than those lovely words you said about Zillow?
Yeah. So I really think that what Zillow is doing, I get it, they're a business, but real estate agents have basically been paying Zillow over the past numerous years, me included. I paid Zillow for leads as well. It's probably the worst money that I've spent. I mean, when I really look at how much money I've made from Zillow compared to Facebook advertising, I should have stopped a long, long time ago. But we are paying Zillow to put us out of business. Zillow recently they've gotten rid of all of my past sales. So it shows I have never sold a house before on Zillow. Their premier agents that are paying them, they've kept theirs up, and they're telling us that, oh, it's a mistake and there's an issue. They got rid of all of my reviews and I have hundreds of them. And not all of them are backed up. Only some of them are. And it's almost like they're lying. They're lying to the public. So they're telling the public I have 0 past sales so that the public will go use their agents that are mostly agents because they couldn't make it as real agents, right? It's like, hey, if you can't sell and you suck, you're not making any money at all, go work for Zillow or Redfin as one of their agents. So people are going to be hiring agents that don't have the experience, couldn't make it on their own, haven't sold a lot of houses, and that's who they're trusting. So Zillow is absolutely competing with us. Also, what Zillow is doing, and I've got screenshots of this, is when people list their homes, Zillow, not the brokerage, but Zillow, the MLS, Zillow, is sending emails to these homeowners telling them how they can get rid of their agents, giving them tips and tricks on how to get rid of their agent. It is pathetic what they're being allowed to do in this, especially with all the rules and guidelines that we have. And unfortunately, I'm not sure, how deep of pockets NAR is with them, but I'm just surprised that all these things are happening. And I really, really do believe that it's our responsibility as real estate agents to let the public know exactly what they're doing now when they're using Zillow. Problem is that it's like they're a beast, right? It's like Amazon. Like dealing with Zillow is like dealing with Amazon. And the broker, the owner of Zillow, he actually is the same guy that put, was it Travelocity? He put, most travel agents out of business, and he's trying to do the exact same thing right now with real estate agents. So everyone really does need to beware. They need to educate people. When people go to Zillow to get information, they're really going to a brokerage. And so you got to think, how accurate is that information? Does Zillow have did the consumer's best interest at heart, or do they have Zillow's? And I will say that they have Zillow's best interest at heart. Because the fact that they're taking away the sales of top producing agents and saying that they're zero, that shows they do not have the consumer's best interest at heart, because the consumer should want to go to an agent that sold more homes, that has more experience, that has more relevance. So it's just really, really sad what's happening.
Yeah, I fundamentally totally agree with you, actually. I put this last week to our guest, and because really what they're really attempting is a Redfin model, which hasn't been that greatly successful. But I put it to our guest, and he said, well, they might do better because they're Zillow. They're more focused on the customer experience. But I actually think it's not going to work out that great for them. And I think more agents are waking up to the reality. What do you think?
I think a lot of agents are. I think it's funny. One of my students, she's Alicia Collins. She's closing 40 transactions. She actually said 50, but I'm just going to say 40, so it's low. But she said she's doing 40 transactions since the beginning of the year, and she went back to track, and not one of them is from Zillow, and she spends a numerous amount of money on Zillow. So it all has to do from her Facebook advertising, her video marketing, her retargeting, and all that. So I was like, I've been telling you, quit using Zillow. And the thing about Zillow too is the amount of leads that actually convert, it's usually under 3%. These leads are being distributed to everyone, but if you can get leads from a different source. So for example, the reason why our conversions are so high on through our Facebook advertising is because we're doing brand awareness campaigns. I mean, people are literally developing a relationship with me all the time because they're seeing my content, they're seeing my market updates, they're seeing my community videos, they're seeing my tips and tricks videos, they're seeing me, go to a restaurant and talk about the best hot dogs in town. I mean, they're seeing me all over the place. So when they call my company, and my brother shows up now, right? But they're calling because they already know that they like us, right? Or they wouldn't be calling. So we're winning before we arrive, right? Just by them seeing us. So therefore, now when you make a phone call or, you call a buyer or seller back, they always know exactly who I am. So it's not a cold conversation. It's a warm conversation. And in fact, we do not do very many outbound calls. They're mostly all inbound. We're calling people back, but we don't do any kind of outbound calling. It's like an attraction-based model where the calls are coming into you.
Wow, fantastic. Over to you, Robert.
Well, actually, that was what I was going to say. So the kind of marketing that I've always focused on, search engine optimization is a designation. It says that you understand how the search engines work. And in this world that we live in, that kind of primarily means Google, right? Like when you're talking about real estate, that's mainly it. But the name of my company is Inbound Real Estate Marketing. The reason I'm saying that is because what I've focused on for the entirety of my lifetime, 35 years in sales, has been the concept of attraction marketing, which is what you're talking about. So you put up a video, the concept of that video appeals to somebody enough that they reach the end of the video, which is for you what is a trigger inside your funnel. But what you're doing is you're giving somebody an ever increasing amount of information which they find valuable. You're answering questions or solving problems for the people that you're working with. You're doing a little bit of what I would refer to as push marketing because you're giving them a lot of marketing material. Like you outlined your 11 steps after somebody does some kind of marketing with you. But still, ultimately, what you are providing, which is something that I love in inbound marketing, is you're giving them a huge amount of data that you've created for them. And if they should happen to read it, they will probably receive a lot of value from it. Is that a correct analysis of your marketing process?
Absolutely. Serve, don't sell, right? When you serve, don't sell, ultimately you will sell. So, when you're adding values, in order to be considered as a solution, you must be solving a problem, right? So figuring out what the problems that people are having and figuring out how to become that solution, taking a customer through the acquisition process from cold to warm to hot, right? Cold being they have a problem and don't even realize they have a problem, or they have a problem, but they don't know what the solution is. I want to turn that cold lead into a warm lead. Hey, there's a solution. Let me nurture you and explain what that solution is. And then ultimately get them to become a hot lead where now they know they have a problem, they know the solution, and they know that I am absolutely the best solution to help them and to meet that need based upon how much I've served them before they got to that level, right? It's so important. And if there's a book called Sway, and it talks about how there was a study done from MIT, and there was a professor that they said was sick, right? And so they gave these students the biography of the professor. 50% of them got the exact same biography, talking about his accolades, his status, the schools he'd gone to, his experience, all these great things about him. The only thing that was different in both of these biographies, you should call them, was one of them said he's a rather warm person. The other one said he's a rather cold person. So they gave 50%. 50% got rather cold, 50% got rather warm. At the end, the ones that got rather cold said he was pompous and arrogant and, conceited and just not a good teacher. The other ones that said he was rather warm, they all said he was very charming, a great teacher, very personable, just from those two words being different, right? So this is why this is important, because we have to understand that the pre-frame, what we're saying to somebody prior to them moving them up the acquisition phase, right? We've got to be able to bridge the gap from where they are to where they're going. And it's good sometimes to do blanket marketing. Blanket marketing means I'm speaking to everybody. But let me give you an example of what the pre-frame looks like. If I say, it is an amazing time to buy right now, interest rates are incredibly low, and they're lower than they've ever been in history. Mm-hmm. If I'm a veteran and I don't have any money in the bank, I'm a veteran, I've got a great job, but my credit score is not that great, I don't think probably that I can buy a home. So I'm not even hearing the message about being a great time to buy. But if I say, are you a veteran with no money down, not a lot of money in the bank, you've got an okay credit score, but you've got a job, a good job. Thank you, by the way, for serving our country. Did you know that you can probably purchase a home and most likely your payment will be less than what you're paying right now in rent, and you've got a tax advantage? All of a sudden, that cold customer that never ever thought, that veteran that thought he could purchase, now is like, oh my God, I could maybe buy. Now I'm going to give him more information about buying, the solutions, the type of VA loans, how you can buy with no money down, all these kind of things, and educate him like crazy or her like crazy. And then later on convert them. Hey, go to my veterans buyer seminar on, 5 things that we can do to help you get into a home more quickly. Most people start there. Go to my seminar, go to my buyer seminar. But if you start here and bring them up and, you're targeting the right information to the right people, they're more likely to convert. It's the same thing about talking to a seller. Right now, sellers are afraid to sell because they're afraid they're not going to be able to find a replacement property. So if I say it is an amazing time to sell your home right now, we are getting multiple offers and bidding wars. If you're thinking about selling, now's the time. However, if I'm a seller who's afraid of selling because I think that if I sell, I'm going to be homeless, right? I'm not going to have anywhere to go. When you tell me that it's a great time to buy, I'm tuning you out. But if I say, are you thinking about selling, but you're really afraid that you might be homeless because there's no inventory? Well, guess what? We've got solutions for you. Now, all of a sudden, that person is listening. Do you get the difference? And so most people don't think about that. Most real estate agents, if they even do any content, they're putting the same content to the same people to everyone, and half the people aren't listening. Right? Now, there's a time to do that. Like in my nurturing process, when I bring them down the funnel and I'm trying to get them to continue to know, like me, and trust me, I'm nurturing them. That's great to do market updates and more blanket marketing. But it's really important to also do messaging and marketing that speaks directly to a certain person.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. It's time to wrap up the podcast part of the show, Robert, and then we can go on with some bonus content. And over to you, Robert.
All right. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning into the iTunes podcast. As I've been ending every episode, I'm asking all of our listeners, listen, if if Jonathan and I, an amazing guest like Krista, are providing you any value, we'd love to hear what kind of value we're providing in the form of a review on iTunes. Our iTunes reviews, which are excellent, are a little outdated, and we're looking for some new ones. So without any further ado, Krista, how would you like people to find you? Because I know they're going to.
Yes, thank you so much. So I've got a 2-day event that I do once a month. You go to KristaMashore.com/2days live. That's KristaMashore.com/2days live. I do a 2-day, about 20 hours worth of coaching where I go over the exact same strategy I was talking about, where we got the 48 seller transactions, and talk about all about digital marketing and video and how to properly use it. It's only $97. It's $10,000 value. You will absolutely walk away from there just like blown away. And I promise you'll learn a lot more than what you're knowing right now. So if you're interested, that's where you can find me.
Lovely. And Jonathan, how would you like people to reach out to you?
You just go to the mail-right.com website. We've got a great selection of interviews from expert like Krista. Been blown away. Hopefully she can stay on for a little while. We can have some bonus content, which you'll be able to see on the Mail Right YouTube channel. But if you want to talk to me, just go to the Mail Right website, Robert.
All right. And ladies and gentlemen, if for some reason there's something that you want to learn about search engine optimization or my take on inbound marketing, which is slightly different than Krista's and other people that are leveraging paid platforms, then you can go to inboundrem.com. If Krista's going to agree to stay on the show with us, what I'd like to talk about for those final 10 minutes on video is a little bit more about taking control of your marketing destiny, using multiple platforms, not relying on one. She touched briefly earlier in the show about Zillow. Both John and Krista expressed some strong opinions. I'd like to add my thoughts into that after we come back for the bonus. So with no further ado, thank you for tuning in. All right, so welcome back to for those of you who've decided to join us for the extra 10 minutes on video. As I stated, I wanted to talk a little bit more about decentralizing your marketing and ask Krista what I mean by decentralizing, Krista, because I want to.
I was just going to ask you. I'm like, what does decentralizing mean?
Well, let me give you an example. You've identified yourself as a Facebook expert. I've identified myself as a Google expert. If both of us, let's just call it, can make people $100 million on those platforms, that's great. That's lovely. But you and I are not responsible. You're not responsible for Facebook, and I'm not responsible for Google. And even though we've gotten very lucky in that these two big social platforms or whatever, they haven't changed in such a way that we're not able to make money for our clients, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that maybe they will. Neither you nor I can guarantee to everybody listening that these platforms won't change in a way that we may not be able to leverage. So I usually talk to my clients about decentralization, basically putting a couple of like nickels in other buckets other than the main one that you're making most of your revenue for, because you've obviously got an exit strategy that's going to make plenty of millionaires, and it seems like that strategy focuses a lot on Facebook. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I could say the same about Google, but here's what I oftentimes tell my clients. It's not such a bad idea to have a channel in some of these other platforms where maybe 30% of your revenue is being generated from. That way, if something happens, if your tent pole gets pulled for whatever reason, you've got something else going. So on that general concept, that general philosophy, because you're talking about Zillow. And listen, I've been saying for years, do not rely on Zillow. Years, you were correct in your assessment. All you got to do to find out where a company is going is look at where they've been. And the guy, you were absolutely right. This guy simply took the model that he leveraged at Travelocity and is now leveraging it at Zillow. And guess what? That model will end up cutting out 80% of the realtors that they've been working with. Full stop. It's not even a conversation, in my opinion. It's like he's already done it. Why would he do it different? He's already made $1 billion. Why would he make another $1 billion different? It doesn't make any sense. So what do you think about diversification?
So we do. I mean, so anytime we create a video, we take that video, and you'll appreciate this because you have SEO. We get that video transcribed. We put the video and the transcription on our website. So then we get SEO from Google. We also put it on YouTube. Now we get also SEO from Google because Google owns YouTube and they love video. Okay. We run Instagram ads and snippets where we do free marketing on LinkedIn, posting on LinkedIn. We take that transcription. We do it on Facebook, and we do it on an ad through Facebook. So we're also mailing our list. I mean, I actually had my ad account shut down for about 3 weeks, about 6-8 months ago. And because of our list that we owned, right? And yes, the origination of that list came from these various sites. But once we create a lead magnet and get somebody's information, the idea is to get people off of these platforms and onto your own. You want to own their information, own their email address, own their phone number, so that if these platforms ever change, it's kind of like, Robert, I'm sure you know, 5-10 years ago, the Google AdWord for, realtor or agent or house or whatever probably was like 2 cents, and now it's like $200, right? I mean, that's not scalable. That's an exactly the same kind of thing that you were. So if somebody was just temporarily, in fact, Russell Brunson talks about this, how he used to do all this marketing on Google, and all of a sudden, like one day, he, his words that were just making him all this money, like just completely, I mean, like 10,000% went up. And so he was like, I can't do this anymore. Right. Which made him realize, hey, I've got to diversify. So I think it's very, very important to diversify. Even now, Clubhouse is a great way to start, to be on Clubhouse, and it's free for now. I'm also on TikTok, right? My team puts me on TikTok, but the problem is that for a single solo agent, it's very difficult to master all of these platforms. What happens is overwhelm sets in, and so they do nothing, right? So my idea and my suggestion to everybody is pick one platform and really, really master it, but have another one that's kind of in your back pocket that isn't owned by the same entity, right? For example, you wouldn't want to do Facebook and Instagram because Facebook owns Instagram, right? Maybe it's better idea
WhatsApp,
yeah, maybe it's a better idea to do Facebook and maybe YouTube, right? But again, it is time consuming. So the ultimate goal is going to be to get these email addresses and these phone numbers and own them, so that if your ad account does get shut down like mine has in the past and everyone else that I know of, or if Google changes their AdWords from 1 cent to $500, that you're not out of business, basically.
I love that. And I love that John and I have talked about databases a lot, but John, why don't you go ahead and add your thoughts into the topic, diversification?
Well, I think it's so important, and I don't want to, I was in 2 minds to say that, if you just want to be a dog with Zillow and just be work for Zillow and have them tell you how to run your life, go ahead. Or you got to learn how to do what Krista's outlining. So either be a dog or be an independent person. It's your choice. What's your views about, have you got any insights about and ideas about how agents should use video in their local market, Krista?
I think any professional should. Any professional should. So we've taught brand new agents to beat top producers within a year. Like our agents are going in and going head to head with top producers who have been dominating an area or a neighborhood for 15 years, and they're going in there and they're beating them out over and over and over again because they're different, they're innovative, they're showing how they're exposing their properties to the masses and themselves to the masses, right? So when you have somebody that is a newer agent, let's just say, or somebody who is going on a listing presentation and they're saying, hey, something, Robert and Jonathan, I'm not sure if you know this, but according to the National Association of Realtors, 67% of buyers will walk through a home that they see online. Well, I want to show you the kind of things that we're doing that really, really helps with that. And we actually do a 17-minute pre-listing presentation video. That's all about all the marketing, the exposure. We show how we get 600, 500 hours of watch time on every video that we create, 6,000 posts, 150,000 views. And we show them, like, it's literally 17 minutes long of how we target people and how we create, special ad audiences and how we retarget people and how we do all these things, both locally and out of the area. And it's just like my competitors are going there and they're saying, well, we're going to do an open house, which nobody wants you to do anyways. And we're going to do a brokerage tour, which we all know does not really work because it's like you're doing it to show that you're working, all those things. And then they've got myself or my students coming in there and they're just like on rocket fuel, just having a completely different conversation. That is how newer agents or agents that are brand new to an area are able to come in within a year's time frame and start dominating, because they are doing something that nobody else is doing. So I think it's essential. It's absolutely essential that we start thinking about our business like a business. We get away from the old school techniques and strategies that they're still teaching these poor agents to do, and really, really open up our mind to a new way of marketing. If you're going to do an open house, well, for God's sake, make sure you run a target ad to it, like run an ad behind it, get the masses to see it, get as much people there as possible. I'd much rather spend $75 on an ad and get 200 or 300 hours of watch time on it than spend 5 hours at an open house. By the time I get there and get back and buy my donuts and everything, I'd rather have, all those people watching me than just have the neighbors and looky-loos, right? But the agents have got to change their way of thinking, and they've got to be open to a new way, right? There's a reason why Amazon wiped out 8,000 retail, stores last year, because it's more convenient, it's different, it's innovative, and that's exactly where real estate is going. Has been going for a long time. Agents will start doing it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna add on and say that we're probably pretty close to wrapping up here. But I'm gonna say that the trends that you're seeing, I've been in this industry for 14 years. And for 14 years, Krista, I've been talking to agents about video in general, YouTube. I got to say, though, the last 2 years have been different. They've been different in that I know I'm part of a YouTube group, and for the first time ever, that group cracked 3,000 people, and almost all of them are producing videos. Previously, I could scream video from the rooftops, and maybe one agent out of 1,000 would take my advice. And the crazy thing is that one of the people I consulted with has sold $300 million worth of real estate off video. 300 million. That's a big number. And I still couldn't get people to do video, even with that in my back pocket, understanding what the power truly was, having a track record, all those things. It's crazy what the resistance used to be. That's changing. People are starting to realize, in my opinion, what it is that you're saying. They're starting to realize that what you just said so fast and as a fact is actually a fact, which is you can post a video on Facebook and get 200 views. And it is probably going to get you a more diverse audience and much more view time than putting a couple signs out and doing an open house. It was always that way. I think that the effectiveness of that strategy has probably increased by about 300% since the pandemic started, looking at like view time. Because now people don't.
Here's the difference, though. They're finally starting to do video, but most agents are not doing it correctly, and 99% of them are not distributing it properly. They're putting it on their Facebook page, they're putting it on their personal page or their business page, and the only people that are seeing it are their friends and family and grandma, right? Facebook algorithm, YouTube's algorithm, it puts it in front of people that are already interacting, right? Yes, I want grandma to see me, I want my friends to see me, but I want everyone in my community to see me. I want to be able to target specific information that I know somebody was originally interested in and target similar information. I want to make sure that I'm being seen over and over by everyone, by the masses, not just by the onesie twosies. That's the difference. And so most professionals are not willing to spend a marketing budget behind marketing themselves properly, marketing their properties properly, because they don't have the entrepreneurial mindset in a lot of cases. They don't understand that spending that money to market themselves, they might not see the immediate results right now, but if they do it for 3 months, all of a sudden it's like the compound effect of them being seen over and over again turns into massive amounts of business, right? So video is wonderful, but it doesn't do a darn thing if nobody's seeing it.
Right. Which is the same principle, by the way, that works with websites and SEO.
Yep.
Because you drive people into the site, and as you get people there, you actually don't see a result in, like, let's call it the first 90 days, even if you turned on a spigot. But suddenly, like 3 months, 6 months later, it's as if a light switch goes off. You go from 1 or 2 leads to 30, and you're asking what happened. But when you talk to the people on the phone, what they're saying is, oh, I've been using the website for a while. They basically just get comfortable enough to actually submit information. And the same thing exists no matter what kind of marketing you're talking about. You could be talking about, inbound SEO marketing. You could be talking about Facebook marketing where somebody's seeing it. You can even be talking about email marketing where you sent out, you know,
or even brochures, right? Like these agents will do it 1 or 2 times and then they stop. It's like, no, if you're going to do a mail campaign through Every Door Direct or whatever it might be, you've got to do it for 6-9 months. And then all of a sudden it's like you see the results. But most people, they stop before the results happen, right? It's like, it's difficult to do. And I think especially in real estate, it is because the barrier to entry is so easy. A manicurist needs more education than a real estate agent does, right? And it's so sad to me. Like my daughter, we just spent over $20,000 sending her to beauty school, and she's going to make $100, cutting hair. Whereas a real estate agent can make $2,000, $20,000, $50,000 on. I'm just selling my house around. I'm writing a check for $62,000 to an agent, right? I mean, that's a lot of money off one sale. But why aren't we like? But they're not willing to invest in their personal growth and development and their marketing to really, really, truly dominate. A good real estate agent can make more money than any doctor or attorney or plastic surgeon that I know. They absolutely can, right?
Yeah.
If they're willing to invest.
True. All right. Well, listen, Krista, go ahead, John.
I just think that's a great way to end the show, don't
Right.
you, Robert? A really upbeat, Krista. You have to come back. It's been a fabulous discussion. I think we've covered some great, I don't know what you think, but I think we've covered
Awesome.
some great territory, and I just love your attitude, and you just tell it as it is. And I just totally agreed with what you said about Zillow. Those dogs are down with them, up the agent. That's what I say. We'll be back next week with another great guest and a great conversation. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Oh, good job.